Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Dallas County. I'm here as always with Ruby from Dallas. How are you doing today?
Let's not ask that question.
Okay. And we're here with Avery E. Weddell reporting from Jersey City. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
All right.
Decent.
Decent?
Jersey. Is that where Jersey Shore is?
No, that's the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it's not up in Jersey City. I am not from here. I just moved here recently.
Oh, okay, cool. Where were you at before?
I'm actually from Indiana, and then I went to school in Florida. And then I moved here for my boyfriend has a job he's a construction PA, and we have an apartment together.
That's cool. You've been a lot of places then. What's been your favorite place so far?
I mean, I had a lot of good times in Florida because it was college, like with my friends and stuff. But I really like going to New York City because it's right there. So, probably here.
In Jersey City? But not Jersey City, more specifically New York City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple local places, like right on the block that we live. There's this little Colombian store that I go to get some like snacks and stuff, which is nice because I can just walk there.
Okay.
But yeah, not really much to do. Just go into the city if you want to have a good day.
How have things been over there during the pandemic?
I wasn't here when it was like super bad. I've only been here since September or October. Everyone just wears a mask. Like even if you're just walking down the street, you have a mask on, which is different because in Florida, like nobody was taking it that seriously. You just kind of, some people didn't even wear them in stores, and I was like, okay, wild. But yeah, like you're wearing them on the streets everywhere. So
people do be wilding in Florida, especially.
And here in Texas, we're taking it pretty seriously, though. At least on my end. What about you, Ruby?
I mean, just I don't even like. It's just so frustrating to talk about it, but some people, for the most part, are taking it seriously. But then there's people that I see at bars, you know, just wilding out without a mask, drinking it up, partying like if there's no pandemic at all. So, yeah.
Right.
And those are the people that ruin it for like everyone that's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
It's like this has to be a group effort, guys. You all have to do it.
Yeah, that's why we're here in November still in it.
Yeah.
And like I remember I was at a McDonald's the other day. It was like weeks ago. This was weeks ago. And one person came in and she was like not wearing a mask, and the manager was like, "You got to be wearing a mask." And then she was like, "But what if I have a respiratory problem?" I mean, and then he's like, "Do you have a respiratory problem?" And she's like, no, but what if?" And then he's like, "You know what? You got to go outside if you're gonna do that." And then she's like, "Oh, this is so stupid." Ugh.
I would have been like, if you have a respiratory problem, even more so, that's the reason why you should be protecting yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh
exactly. That's like you're at an even higher risk to get it then. So why would you know?
Yeah, I know. Even if you do have like, if something like have a medical thing that you can't wear a mask, you have to wear one of those face shields. That's what you have to do.
There are so many people here that wear those. Like they wear those and the mask, and people like double mask. People are really pretty serious here on the subways and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you're a writer, right, Avery? So are you getting any material from all of your experiences and writing something up?
I have mostly stayed inside, so no. I have been in like writer's block really bad recently, and I feel so bad about it because I've had all this time to do stuff, and I really haven't. But I'm gonna try. I'm trying. I am trying.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all, because like this year, I think everyone should just be happy to be like just surviving. You know, just be happy with that accomplishment alone. You know, because it's been a really, really rough year. So don't feel bad.
Thank you. And I agree with that. Yeah, just as long as you're just worry about taking care of yourself and surviving.
Yeah. Are you gonna be just voice today, or you're gonna?
I can do it with my camera. I have a blanket like on my head.
Oh, that's okay. We don't mind seeing you have a blanket on your head.
It's whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh,
really.
there you are.
Hello.
Oh, you look so pretty.
Oh, thank you. I've done absolutely nothing today.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Except like watch. I did like preparation for this, but that was it.
Okay. All right. So, tell us, what kind of podcast are we, Ruby?
What do you mean? What segment? I mean,
No,
what is our theme that we're doing today?
You got to introduce the podcast. Like, what do we do? What is our thing?
So this is Wacky Talkies, and we are an entertainment podcast. So movies, music, TV, anything that has to do with entertainment, really. Right. Today's episode is going to be focused on political dramas, which is perfect. It came at a perfect time, actually, because we just got out of the election, out of the 2020 election. So before we get into our picks for the political dramas, I'm just going to go over a little segment that I'm going to call Election 2020. And we're just going to go over a couple things like the Biden-Harris campaign success, which actually is the highest voter turnout in more than a century. Biden won with 306 electoral votes. And Biden actually has more than 78 million votes, which is like the most votes cast for any presidential elect or any presidential candidate in history. So that's pretty big. Kamala Harris is the first Black American, first woman, first Asian American to serve as a vice president. So that's definitely a progressive move.
She's also indigenous as well, I believe.
She what?
I think she's also indigenous, like she's also Native American.
Yes, that's probably one of the things that I was forgetting. So yeah, she's the first indigenous to serve as BP. More importantly, Trump is no longer going to be the president. So that alone is kind of like a sigh of relief for a lot of people. I want to congratulate everyone who organized, in their communities, everyone who, reached out to people via text message, everyone who used their platform. There was even some people who, were still going door to door, in full PPE during the pandemic, because we wanted to make sure that everybody knew how much their vote mattered, especially during this election. So congratulations. And thank you to all of those who put in hard work.
Where did you vote in New Jersey, Avery?
What?
Did you vote in New Jersey?
Oh, I actually flew back to Indiana to vote because I'm still my ID and I'm still a resident of Indiana.
Okay, you're still registered in Indiana?
Yeah.
Hooray! See,
so yeah, I had to go through a whole process of flying back. And,
wow.
Because I got the absentee ballot and I was going to do mail-in and it came too late. So it was not within the 12 days or something. In Indiana, it had to be 12 days sent in early and it was I missed the deadline. So okay, guess I'm flying. And yeah, I was this is really important. And
well, thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for realizing how important this election was and that you had to fly back to go do it. So you're awesome. You're awesome for doing that.
This was my first presidential election because I'm only 20. So I was
yay!
I was really excited about it.
Let's celebrate because Trump's no longer there.
And then among that, there is this whole Trump admin claiming election fraud. So it's so silly because as soon as the numbers started piling in and Trump's admin team, realized that they were losing, as soon as they saw that happening, they started calling right away a voter fraud. And, they sent out all these messages to their supporters saying that there had been fraud and that Biden was stealing this election from them, and that they were going to file all these legal cases. So There's no evidence. All the legal cases that they filed in court have been thrown out because there's no evidence. Even Trump's own admin, continue to request money from their supporters just so that they can pay off election debt. And it says it right there, clear as day in the website. If you, scroll down to the bottom, it'll tell you that the contributions are going to pay off his election debt. Also, the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity, and Infrastructure Security Agency firm, like, they're stating that there's no evidence that any voting system, like, got deleted or lost votes or changed votes or was in any way compromised. So, it's a complete, like, I don't even know what to call it. It's just a shit show. It's like...
I know Trump said a couple of things. One, he admitted that he was bragging that the election was the most secure ever in history. But at the same time, right after, he was like, oh, but the Democrats still wigged it.
Yeah.
And he also was saying, like, I got the most votes out of any sitting president in history.
No.
I don't think that is a fact. No.
It's not, and that's why they're saying, like, you're lying still, like, and then, that's what he's known for. He's gonna lie till the very end because that's what he does, and it's very sad that a lot of his own supporters don't see that. But
we have Pompeo, who said that when he was asked that if he was gonna have a peaceful transition of power to Biden, Pompeo, who is the Secretary of State, said that there will be a peaceful transition for a second Trump administration. and
they even said that he was going to have his own inauguration, right? Like, what are you doing?
McEnany, who's the press secretary, said that when she was asked if Trump was going to attend Biden's inauguration, she said Trump will attend his own inauguration.
Which is like non-existent.
I know. Well,
first off, he doesn't have an inauguration. Second, of course, he would attend his own if he did have one.
Yeah,
right.
McEnany's the most.
Oh my god. But like, it's so funny because like his own government is calling this the most secure election in American history, and it's like this was the same things, if not even more secure than in 2016. So how come fraud was not being called in 2016? Because you were winning, right?
Absentee ballots have like always been a thing. My great grandma always used them because she was too old to like go to the polling places, and they did take voter fraud very seriously because when they found out, like when they Googled our names, like a Google ID thing, not Googled, but put them in the system. My mom and I both had got mail-in ballots. And we obviously, like I said, we couldn't use them because it was too late. So they were like, it looks like you already voted. And we had to go back home and bring in our mail-in ballots and be like, look, see, we didn't use them. And turn them in and like fill out a form to show like, hey, we're not like trying to commit fraud here, like voter fraud. So they took everything very seriously. Like it's not, no. Yeah, you lost, dude.
Yeah, you lost. You're done.
Yeah, and he just needs to concede, because it's like, you're not giving an example, a good example. I mean, you never have, first of all. But, second of all, like there's people who say, we always teach our children to be, good, whenever you're playing any kind of sports or whatever, you're supposed to have good sportsmanlike conduct and not be sore losers. And this is like the definition of that, of him being a sore loser.
He's the sorest of sore losers.
Just lose with grace and leave.
Exactly. And it's like Obama didn't do any of this whenever he lost to, when he lost the presidential seat. Oh, he didn't lose, but like he had to.
When he was transitioning.
When he was transitioning Trump into office, he didn't do none of this.
Yeah.
He didn't try to like overstay his welcome. Like
nothing. He sat there and, gracefully and professionally, met with Trump and his wife and, sat there and, had a professional meeting. And Trump the whole time was just like, upset or whatever. I don't know why, but it's what it looks like in the picture. But
because he hates
anyways,
Obama.
Yeah, he just needs to stop. He needs to stop.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna
He
we're
hated
gonna
Obama, and Obama hated Trump with a passion, but he never let that get in the way with being civil in the transitions.
Yeah, he was like,
and
this
no
is a
other
professional environment. We gotta
Right.
like.
yeah, and no
Exactly.
other president has ever done this either. Like literally.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Clinton didn't do this when Bush came in, and Bush Senior didn't do this when Clinton came in. Even though Clinton beat Bush Senior in his re-election campaign, so yeah, things like that.
yeah.
I would say there was a close thing like this that people have brought up, like when with I think it was Bush Senior and Al Gore.
It was Bush Jr. Yeah.
It was Bush Jr. and Al Gore. Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. I knew it was a Bush and Al Gore, and Al Gore just like they tried to call like the recounts and voter fraud kind of stuff back then, but it still wasn't like to this extent. It was
The difference between then and now, in 2000, there were, I believe, like a very small margin. It was less than 0.5% lead for Bush Jr. in Florida, which is just one state. And if
it was all over Florida.
Yeah, and the reason why is because people noticed that people were voting for a third party candidate instead of one of the two major candidates. So people believed that some of the votes for the third party candidate was actually for Gore. So they wanted just to recount it again, but the Republicans didn't want that, and they kind of forced it not to do it. There was a whole movie about it called Recount. I believe it's on HBO. You can check that out. It's starring Kevin Spacey, so if you can stomach that, you can do that.
Yeah, so this is completely different situation because the lead was super like way more, like the lead that Biden had, the states that turned blue, were so many, Nevada, like Georgia.
Georgia's iconic turn to blue. Like
let's give a hand to all of those, states that turned blue for, the right of common sense.
Right.
Thank you guys.
Texas
that
let
was
us down though, but maybe
disappointed in our states.
Yeah.
Not
Indiana
the state I currently live in, but the state I'm from.
Yeah, Indiana did get red.
And that leads me to, my next thing is, we have a lot of work to be done. Even though Biden and Harris, are the ones who won, they really aren't the ones that we wanted to win. We didn't have really the best candidates to choose from, but basically Biden was the lesser of two evils, which I hate having to even choose between that. But we do have a lot of work to be done. There are still kids in cages. There are still police killings. There are still, the raging pandemic, that's going on. There are still a lot of people, without jobs and,
climate change,
struggling to make ends meet during this time, which is crazy because I heard that on the news the other day, they mentioned that the Trump administration had like $9 billion in COVID relief funds that were just sitting there that they had not done anything with.
They did say they were going to give. He had talked about giving a stimulus check if he won.
Yeah, if he won. That's the thing.
It's like you can have another one if you vote me. It's like that's not.
Just give it to us again. Like, just give it to us now. Like, if you really cared, you would give it to us now. And that's like another thing that just frustrates me so much, and it makes me really angry because it's like there's so many people that are struggling right now, and that's another reason why a lot of these small businesses like bars and places like that are having to stay open because they're worried. They're worried that they're not going to make money, and they don't want to put people over profit because they're going to lose their business and they're going to lose money. And if we had our government taking care of us and them giving us some stimulus checks and them giving us the amount of money that they have just sitting there, then we would be in a whole better situation.
I think Biden has a plan for that. I believe he is going to do the stimulus check once he gets in office within the first 100 days.
Yeah, he's talking about another lockdown too, and but help like assisting people actually through the lockdown better than like the one stimulus check some people got.
Yeah. No, Biden is not gonna leave us high and dry like that. He will help us.
Because he wants to actually like get this thing figured out. Because like what you said with the bars and places staying open, like it's they have to, but it's counterproductive because since they do, they get sick. So then it's like, well, the virus just continues on. And it's like, we're just never going to get out of this cycle. And
exactly. Yeah. And so I know that he does have a plan because I did hear the first press conference that he had in relation to COVID. And, he plainly said, I'm going to have a team that's, consists of the best doctors, the best scientists. And, we're going to actually have a president who listens to science, or respects it at least. So, I'm very hopeful for that. But again, he doesn't come into, the presidency until January the 20th. So we have a whole 2 months, to wait on that. And I just don't know how many people are going to die in between now and then.
I believe it's projected that 400,000 will die by February.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to what Hollywood has to say about the political state of things. Let's see how directors and filmmakers decide to portray politics in cinema, and we're gonna talk about various political films in this next bit. So, Avery, do you want to start off with what you chose?
Sure. My favorite just show in general happens to be a political drama. It's Newsroom. The first episode aired June 24th, 2012. And it had 3 seasons, and each season got progressively shorter until it was canceled, sadly. But it ended in 2014, and it covered stories that, like, obviously later because it had to be shot and everything, but it covered stories that were like actually happening. And the first episode is the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and just the take that their spin on things is just it should be straightforward news to inform the public and not have all this like biased like political sides, like Republican versus Democrat in the news. You should just be getting an informed opinion and multiple opinions, not just the one you want to hear. And I think that the real news should like take note of that and be like that.
All right. So tell us about like the characters and stuff.
Well, Jeff Daniels plays the main character, Will McAvoy. He's the news anchor, and everyone kind of thinks he's an asshole in the beginning. And I mean, he kind of he is, but he's actually like a nice guy. And he and like I think they like dated in the past and had like a bad breakup. Her name is Mac in the show, and she's played by Emily Mortimer. She's the executive producer of their news, and they like come up with this idea to do like news differently because he had just been chasing the reviews, or the views and stuff, and like they create like their news team and their newsroom is like a little family, and it's really nice to see the characters develop and get to know each other and like be close, and him to open up from being like this hard guy to them actually seeing that he's nice and he cares about them.
Mm-hmm. So, I know this film was made by Aaron Sorkin, and Aaron Sorkin's known for having a lot of dialogue in his pieces. So what do you think about like the dialogue going on in Newsroom?
It's very strong. The opening scene of the first episode is Jeff Daniels going off about, like, this girl asks, what makes America the greatest country? And he just is like, it's not. And he just goes off. And like, so there's like kind of like speechy moments, but they work. they're not like overly unbearable or anything. Like they're like, yes, like.
So that video is from that show?
It's from the
Yeah.
newsroom. You know, whenever I see that clip,
Okay, because I had seen that video, like just that clip of him saying that, and I was like, oh my god, I love Jeff Daniels.
I remember he
Yeah,
was
it's
in
the
Dumb and
opening
Dumber.
scene of that show.
So when I watched that clip, my eyes just rolled out of my eye sockets still. Because I mean, America is really good, but it does have its flaws, though. So I do agree.
Yeah, that's
with
what
that.
he's saying basically. Is like
Yeah.
that we could, and he goes back to but it could be a great country.
Yeah. And then also the thing is, some of these critics, like these reviews, on the newsroom, a lot of them say that it seems like it's more of a soapbox for Aaron Sorkin. Do you agree with that? And it gets kind of preachy.
I wouldn't really know how to comment on that because I haven't seen like a ton of Aaron Sorkin's work, so I wouldn't know how to.
You know what I mean? Is like, does it get like really preachy at times?
Yeah, but I think it works. Like I like what it's saying.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's great. The Newsroom. Would you recommend it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, you can watch it on HBO Max. You could also watch it if you have regular HBO.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's The Newsroom. Pretty cool. I will go next, and I will take you guys into my time machine. Ready to go back in time, guys? Are you ready to go back in time?
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna go back in time to, what is it? To 1939. 1939, Washington, D.C. And we're going to explore the story of Frank Capra's 1939 masterpiece, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And it is a political dramedy that is based on an unpublished story by Lewis R. Foster called The Gentleman from Montana. And it is actually about a naive man who is appointed to fill a vacancy in the United States Senate, and his plans promptly collide with political corruption, but he does not back down. And this film was nominated for 10 Oscars for Best Picture, Best Lead Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, Best Editing, Best Sound Recording, and Best Music. And it won for Best Original Screenplay. And it boasts like a very an amazing performance by James Stewart, who plays the titular character of Smith. And in this film, it's basically like this guy, he comes to Washington, D.C., and he is basically illusioned with Washington. And he sees like these monuments. He sees the Washington Monument. He sees the Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol Building, and it's like all larger than life. And he's like, whoa, this is amazing. America is like amazing. And then when he actually goes into the Senate, all the rest of the senators there are like, he sees that basically how corrupt these senators are, and they just want to use him in order to like fulfill their own personal agenda. Because they know that how naive he is, how inexperienced he is. So they thought that if he would just follow along with anything they said, and he feels like, and you can tell that he feels very like used in everything when he does that. So what happens is that Smith actually wants, his entire motivation in the film is that he wanted to create like a boys club, kind of like a Boy Scout type thing. And he wanted to make that, so he tried to propose it in the Senate, but the senators are like, "Oh, you're just a first-time senator. You can't just do those things." So he tried to propose the bill, and then they noticed that one of the bill has like, they wanted to establish the camp in a land that one of the other senators wanted to build a dam on, and in order to one of the other senators owns that land, so he wanted to build a dam in order to make like more money and stuff. So when when Smith proposed the bill, the senator saw that he was trying to attack him and everything. He was trying to cut into his business. So what he did was that he said that Smith owed the land, not him, so that he could build a dam, and that he could like basically scam all these people out of money in order to get richer, which is basically what the senator wanted. But so basically, he said that it was Smith that was doing what he was going to do. So what ended up happening, he forged all these documents. They went to an impeachment trial, and then he was impeached and kicked out of the Senate, and therefore he was disillusioned with Washington. Basically said like, oh no, like I'm on my lowest, and everything just basically crashed down on him. He sees like Washington from what it really is, how politically corrupt everything was, and that he just wanted to do some good, but they didn't want him to do some good. But so what he ended up doing was that he ended up going to the Senate anyway, because he wasn't impeached yet. He was still a senator there. So what he did was he basically issued, I believe what it was called a filibuster, and it was one of the most famous scenes one of the most famous scenes in cinema history, where he was told that he would be allowed to basically have the floor and talk for as long as he wants. For as long as he wants. So all he has to do is, 1, stay standing, and 2, not stop talking. And he was going to do this until his own state, which I believe was never mentioned, but I believe was Montana, basically comes to the Senate telling them that we want the Smith's bill to be passed. So what he did was he basically stood there and just rambled on for an hour. Then after that, he started talking. He decided he was going to read the Declaration of Independence. So he read the Declaration of Independence from front to cover. He rambled on a bit more. He got out the Constitution and he read that cover to cover. And so basically he was there standing, talking for 12 hours. So that's how passionate he was for this thing. I see you're shaking your head, Ruby. Why?
No, I was just like thinking of him reciting that whole thing.
Yeah. So he was doing it for 12 hours, and then the corrupt politician, I believe his name was Payne, he came in with a bunch of fake telegrams, letters of people saying that it was people from Smith's state telling him that they don't want him, they want him to stop, and they just don't want him to do anything anymore. But it wasn't real. It was faked. So when Smith came in and he looked at them, dude, if you want to see a person get broken in half inside, watch that scene, because it is the most heartbreaking scene you will ever see. If you want to see a person die inside, like, watch that scene. You can see how, like, what of a broken person he was. And then he was like, oh no, I know it's fake. And then I will keep on standing here forever and ever. And then he fainted. Then Payne finally sees the error of his ways, and seeing how passionate he is about government and how much he believes in the system. He believes in the system so much he was willing to do anything in order to preserve it. So what Payne did was he went outside the chamber and tried to kill himself. But they stopped him before he did, because this is 1939. So they stopped him before he did, and basically admitted to everything. And then that's how the movie ends. But it's basically how one man can definitely help impact the state of the government. What do you guys think?
I think that's a good message. That each individual has an impact and should take advantage of that impact and do something with it.
Right.
But listening to you talk about it, that was like a roller coaster. That was like I was trying to follow and I got kind of confused a couple times.
Sorry, I accidentally disconnected instead of pressing the unmute button. But I was just gonna say, I love movies that kind of speak to the corruptness of how, you know, things can be, how do I say, that people can, you know, change people's minds and form ideas in people's heads just by, you know, lying and having that stance of power that you have. Like, it's just so easy. People are so easily manipulated, and it's so corrupt.
Yeah, but I know this film was that his entire thing that Smith had was that he saw the corruptness firsthand, but he knew that that America, the government of America, has the potential to be good, and he believed in that goodness throughout for his all his heart, that he was willing to stand there and just talk for 12 hours. So would you guys go that far as to like as to just stand there and just talk for 12 hours?
I could probably talk for 12 hours.
12 hours, really?
That's a really, really, really long time. Like, if I had the time, then yes. But as of right now, I wouldn't have the time to sit there and talk for 12 hours.
Oh, you're not sitting.
And I guess nonstop, too, is, like, really hard. Yeah.
And you have to stand. You can't sit down.
That's where it gets me.
Yeah. So he basically stood.
I commend him for that, like, for real, because it's a long time.
Yeah, he did it all throughout the night. And, yeah, so basically, like, do you believe that America... Like, do you believe in the notions that Smith had in this film, that America is indeed corrupt, but does have the ability to do good things and help the people?
Yeah.
I believe so if the right people are in office. You know, if we have, you know, people in Congress like AOC and her squad, you know, that...
yeah, which it grew because they all got, like, elected. It was great.
Yes. That was another thing that I forgot to mention during my election 2020 segment, is that was definitely one of the good things that came out of this election, is that the squad got reelected. All of them did, and they grew more. So we have more people fighting for actual people, you know, in Congress than we did before.
Yeah,
so.
They were like Trump's worst nightmare.
They were a lot of people's worst nightmare.
Oh,
yeah, so many people hate on AOC and, like, her friends and stuff. And it's just like, she's awesome. So.
Nate has a crush on her.
I do.
My boyfriend does too.
I have her photo. I have a framed photo of her. I don't know where it is. It still must be packed.
Like a real frame photo that you just have somewhere. Yeah. I love that.
She's amazing. Oh, please date me, Ocasio-Cortez. I'm kidding, of course, but I do really like
a
her.
little bit though.
No, you're not.
But you can watch this film, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, on IMDb TV. It's free, and it's a really great film. It's considered to be one of the best films ever made, and for a great reason. And I would recommend you go check it out on IMDb TV. All right, moving on to you, Ruby. What do you got?
All right, my turn. So I have a political drama, and first off, let me just say that I don't really enjoy political, you know, shows or movies to begin with, and I guess that was the me before, because the me before was kind of like one of those people who was like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to know anything that has to do with, you know, the government and stuff like that, because I feel like there's just so much corruptness and you can't really tell, you know, who's telling the truth and who's not, and you don't really, you know, see what goes on behind the curtains of every, you know, political candidate and stuff like that. So I was really one of those people before, and I never really liked watching political movies. Now, of course, it's much different, and I'm much more involved. And, you know, because of this election, I'm so happy that I decided to, you know, be more knowledgeable in terms of our government and how democracy works and how it's ran. So Sorry, my son is in the background.
Okay.
He saw Obama on the TV. He's like, "Is that Obama?"
Okay.
So, but now, so like I'm saying, like now I think I would have a different stance on watching political movies. But when I first watched this political drama, it was different. Like I actually loved it. I was like, wow, this is one political drama that I actually really enjoyed watching. And I think a lot of it is because it showed a lot of what does go on behind the curtains. And I'm talking about Vice.
All right.
Vice, the 2018 movie called Vice. It was written and directed by Adam McKay. It's a Golden Globe nominee. And it stars Christian Bale as the former U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney during the Bush Jr. administration, which we all know that was also a crazy administration in itself, you know.
Yeah, but
Not as
nowhere
bad as
near
Trump,
much as this
but
one.
still kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that pulls me into this movie is that at the beginning, Cheney is talking with his wife, who's portrayed by Amy Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know, Bush is wanting me to be his running mate, you know. And Amy Adams is, you know, Mrs. Cheney is like, oh my God, they're gonna put that poor boy in the office, even though he don't know nothing about nothing. Like they make Bush seem so stupid.
Oh, they portray like
That's
some,
kind of how it is, like how it was though. Like Bush was kind of pushed into being that by his dad. He was like, "You're gonna like be president, though. Like you're gonna do politics," and he was like, "I just if you watch like there are memes of him speaking, and you can tell he wasn't built for that."
I mean, he
and they
was
like
so bad in some places that a reporter literally threw a shoe at him, and he ducked and he missed, but the reporter took off his other shoe and threw that at him as well.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering why
Why
this didn't happen during the Trump administration. Like, why didn't anybody throw a shoe at Trump?
I
Like,
don't
come
know.
on.
Really though, like why?
He was
Throw
much
shoes at Bush.
worse.
I threw shoes at Trump.
But so I really like that part because it was like showing, you know, how in the back end of, you know, presidential candidates, how it's just somehow, oh, you're next in line. Oh, they're going to push this person next in line because he's part of this family who has, you know, presidents who have served in the past, you know, so they're really not going about it in a very, how do I say, strategic, very professional kind of way. Like they're just like, oh, well, he's next because he's part of our family, and that's who we're going to put in office.
Yeah.
It's not like he actually has the ambition to be president
Right,
and the want to do it.
The experience. So it's like they also talk about how he was a drunk. You know, he was an alcoholic, and he got pulled over and had so many DWIs before. And so Mrs. Cheney's, you know, talking to Dick Cheney, and she's like, oh, that poor boy or whatever. And, you know, she's like talking to him about how if he gets in office with him, you know, it may do him some good. And so he eventually does agree to becoming his VP, even though he was kind of reluctant. And it just kind of like shows how everything gets like decided upon, but mainly by Dick Cheney, because Bush is like we said, he's not, the want is not there. And so he kind of just wanted Dick Cheney to like handle everything and make his decisions like without him even knowing, because he was just like, yeah, whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. And it kind of touches on, you know, how Cheney, you know, following 9/11 was really instrumental in providing a primary justification for the renewal of the war against Iraq. They also show how he shot that attorney, his hunting partner.
Oh, yeah.
When they were on that hunting trip. So that in itself is like, oh my God, and how they like just like played it off like as an accident. Like even the lawyer himself was like, oh yeah, it was a complete accident.
He just
you know,
accidentally shot me. It's chill. It's cool. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's chill. It's cool. Whatever. Like what? You shoot me, I'm gonna be mad at you forever.
Right. What if
and I'm gonna
yeah.
expect some money.
What if
Like, if you shoot me, I kind of want to shoot you back.
Where would you shoot him back? Like in the arm?
Wherever they shot me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just so
What
they
if
could
it
feel
was
it.
in the head? Then you'd be dead.
No, I'm not gonna kill them. I just if they shoot me in the arm, I'll shoot them in the arm back. Now you know my pain.
Okay.
And so you get to also see like how Bush just kind of like cruised his way through the presidency, like just living a lavish life that a president does. You know, he would go on hunting trips, he would go do whatever the hell he wanted, you know, because he was the president, and he was like letting all these other people who had experience and had the want, you know, handle everything.
Yeah.
I
know that Cheney followed this Nixonian philosophy that if the president does something, then it cannot be illegal.
That's very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He did follow that.
Yeah, Trump follows that too.
One of my favorite things, though, from this movie, or I guess I should say, because I know I said my favorite was, you know, getting to see behind the scenes, but the twist, I guess, that I loved was that there's a narrator throughout this movie.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
And you don't know who that narrator is until the very end. And I guess I don't want to spoil it for people because I do want y'all to watch it.
I've seen it already.
I haven't actually, and I really want to now.
Yeah, you should definitely see it because the twist at the end, when they expose who that narrator is, you're kind of like it's so well put together.
I was about to spoil it pretty good. It's on Hulu. Do you have Hulu, Avery?
Yeah.
Okay, you can watch it on Hulu.
Do you need the premium subscription? Because I don't have that.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. But it's also available. So it's available on Hulu with just a regular subscription. It's available on YouTube for $4, and also on Google Play Movies and TV for $4.
And Prime and Vudu for also that.
Yeah. So and it also has like a really star-studded cast, like Christian Bale. You know, first of all, the makeup that they did on him. You know, like for him to portray Dick Cheney, like amazing.
I think he won an Oscar for that.
I think so too, for costume.
No, for best hair and makeup.
Yeah, for best hair and makeup. Sorry. So, and then Sam Rockwell portrays George Bush.
Well, he portrayed him as such a doofus.
Yeah, well, because he was.
Yeah.
Like that was a good portrayal of him because that's exactly who he was.
Steve Carell
and Steve Carell is among the cast. Tyler Perry portrays Colin Powell in there as well. So there's a bunch of people on this in this movie that they're awesome.
And the only thing about Vice is that sometimes they just put in a bunch of random imagery that doesn't really make much sense. Like in the scene where Cheney and Bush are in the war room or in the bunker after 9/11, it cuts to just like a random picture of a hyena and it cuts to a random picture of a clown, and I don't really get it.
No, that's what made it a little bit different. I will say this because that was another thing that I forgot to mention about this movie is that the way that they shot it and the cuts and stuff like that are very different. You won't see a movie, back then based on political drama that was shot like this.
McKay is
very different.
McKay is very creative in his filmmaking style. I think he's the most creative filmmaker in Hollywood right now. Because he doesn't film things linearly, in a linear fashion. He's very creative in how he portrays and how he expresses the film story.
Yeah, so you definitely will see it. You know, it will be different from what you're used to seeing, and I think he did that because he, was using those pictures as a metaphor, like, these people are clowns.
Yeah, those pictures had to have some type of message.
It's a message. Yeah. It's just like a read between the lines kind of message. They don't want to like plain out say it.
I know. I guess my brain. I just don't have a big enough brain. I don't have an IQ over 150. I need one
just
IQ.
A flash of a clown. It's like, whoa, what was that though?
You need only people with 150 IQ totally understands.
No, you need that Gen Z kind of humor to understand.
Gen Z humor is like the
that's a
oddest
good
thing.
way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
So yeah,
so would you recommend Vice?
yes, I would most definitely recommend Vice for everyone because, like I said, it's a political movie, and I know a lot of people kind of get turned off by political stuff, but this is one movie that is really 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 good, like all over. Like it has a little bit of everything in it, and even though you're not into, even if you're not into like political stuff, it still has something for you that I'm sure you'll like.
Yeah. So let's move on to recommendations. Like, it could be anything that you have seen recently that you would like to recommend to people to check it out. It could be a movie, a TV show, a book, a play, video game, anything. So, Avery, do you have anything that you've seen or done experienced recently that you would like to recommend?
Um, it's not new, but I just started watching The Handmaid's Tale.
Ooh.
And like I don't know why. I think I started watching it because there was the whole thing with like Amy Coney Barrett going into Congress, and even though like it's not the same religion because I am blanking on her name and I feel dumb. The writer of Handmaid's Tale,
The author or the creator of the show?
Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
The writer of the book. She did not actually, like, there was like a conspiracy that she based it on the same religion that Amy Coney Barrett follows, because she follows like a special sect of Catholicism. It's not actually the same thing, but because people were talking about that, I started thinking about the show and I was like, I'm going to watch this. And it is very relevant. Like, it's scary to watch the first season and see like they have riots and stuff in the show and protests and like the police brutality. And it's like what's happening now and today. And I don't know, it's weird.
Oh, she's a part of the People of Praise. I have never heard of that.
I wanted to watch. I watched a little bit of The Handmaid's Tale. I just have not gotten to finish it. Like, it's so many like seasons, I think, as of right now, and it does look really interesting though. Like, as far as like with everything that's going on, so I do want to watch that.
Okay.
It's a very like deep subject matter to get into. I took a break from it because I got to like season 2 and I'm like taking a break before I continue. But it is like very relevant.
Yeah. Those are those shows where you're just like, I have to take a mental health break.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you start like trying to like put it into like your life as of right now. Like, you start putting in a perspective of what's going on right now, and then you start like worrying like, oh shit, what if this does start happening? Like,
because it's too real. So it's like, okay, let me stop. Let me go watch a comedy. Play Among Us. It's my other suggestion.
Speaking of comedy, I have a recommendation.
Yeah.
So I have a movie and a book to recommend.
Yeah.
The movie is the second Borat film. The subsequent movie film of Borat. It's part 2. And it's so freaking hilarious because it does touch on a lot of things that are going on now, but he does it in a very comedic, very smart way to where you get exactly what he's trying to say, like the message that he's trying to put out there. It touches on Trump supporters, pro-lifers,
Giuliani,
the pandemic. Like, it's crazy. So definitely watch that because it's funny the way that he does it.
Where he caught Giuliani tucking in his shirt.
Yeah.
In front of his 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah, his daughter, like, it touches a lot about on toxic masculinity, you know, and especially in other countries, how they view women, and how they treat them.
It's an extreme, but it definitely has some truth.
It's an extreme, like, yeah, like he does it to an extreme, like, in an exaggerated way, but he kind of has to do it in that way for you to get the message.
To get the message across, you do it overdo it to get the message.
Exactly, and for it to be more comedic as well, you know.
Sacha Baron Cohen has an account on Parler, which is the alt-right safe space, this network that was just made for conservatives. He has an account there as Borat, and he does all his posts as Borat on there.
Is he doing it to troll them?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what Parler is? Like, oh my god.
Parler is like an alt-right social network for people to say whatever they want, information they want, and not be like flagged
to continue to be racist pieces of shit.
Yeah, but at least it's confined to one area away from everyone.
Yeah. It's funny that you called it a safe space though, because they make fun of like liberals and stuff for having safe spaces.
Yeah, the irony.
I'm saying, like, you're that much of a snowflake that you couldn't stay on the social media sites that were already there. You had to go and create your own, so you can go and cry and whine.
Yeah, like everything they make fun of the other side for, it's like they really do it the hardest though.
For real.
It hurts my head, guys. Yeah. It really hurts my head.
Yeah. So what else you got?
And then the book that I want to recommend to everybody is called The Celestine Prophecy.
All right. What is it about?
So it really talks about how religion and science, I guess, I don't want to say go hand in hand, but it explains how spiritualness is really more scientific than what you really think. Because it talks about how everything in this universe has energy in it. And you learn that in science, you know, like every mass, every, you know, thing has energy in it. And so it talks about how all of that is connected between all of us and the universe. And it really like makes sense when you read about it, because it talks about how coincidences happen in your life. Your intuition sometimes like takes you places where you didn't even think you would be at, and you know, for good reasons. It talks about karma. It talks about what was the other thing? I'm trying to think what else it talks about. Oh, it talks about how, like, you know, you've had a dream before, you like have deja vu, where you're like, oh my God, I remember being in this place in my dream, you know, and things like that happen to you. Mm-hmm. It's really good. So I recommend it. The Celestine Prophecy.
Okay.
Celestine, or is it Celeste?
No, Celestine.
Celestine.
Yeah, I'll be sure to add it in the, you know, YouTube details.
Okay, yeah, it's a novel by Renfeld. James Renfeld. Is it a novel? It doesn't really sound like a novel.
Let me see. I got it right here. It's right here.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
it has your notes on it.
Yeah.
Because it's just that intense.
Yeah, I have notes all in it, but it's the phenomenal #1 New York Times bestseller. Yeah, and it's called The Celestine Prophecy, an Adventure.
Interesting.
James Redfield, yeah. It says, a book that has been passed from hand to hand, from friend to friend, since it first appeared in the small bookshops across America. The Celestine Prophecy is a work that has come to light at a time when the world deeply needs to read its words. It basically talks about humans evolving in their mind. Like, you know how we've evolved, you know, throughout, you know, time. It's time for us to evolve, like, even more. But, like, in order for all of us to evolve together, like, we need to read this book.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like spiritual awakening stuff?
Yeah, like that. And it also like talks about, it talks about the Mayans too. You know how they say like the Mayan civilization just disappeared? Like with no trace, and nobody knows what happened to them?
Well, they probably most likely just went to different other tribes throughout Mexico.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But what if
That's
they
just a
didn't?
theory.
But wouldn't they have found traces of them in other tribes then?
Traces probably not, because they probably would have renounced their Mayan ways and adapted whatever ways that the tribe they've joined has. Hi, cat.
This is Mowgli. Sorry.
I'm trying to think if there was any Mayan, like any big civilizations after the Mayans. It was the Mayans and
It's
then
the Aztecs.
The Aztecs
the
came out after.
Aztecs.
Or they were.
Yeah.
It was after, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Aztecs were after.
The Aztecs were around after the Mayans disappeared. But then,
And they were
then,
higher up in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're where New Mexico City is now.
Mhm.
And then the conquistadors came in and basically wiped them all out.
And then, yeah, and so they were wiped out too. And then, but there are several other, Native American tribes who were in the Americas, like where the United States is today,
Yeah.
Scattered all over. So maybe. But it's a good book. So you should definitely read it. If anything, like it'll help you yourself be a better human being.
Okay.
So.
That's some high praise. So, going back to the Amy Coney Barrett thing, she is from, like, this Christian group called the People of Praise, which look very shady.
Yeah, they're weird.
But anyway, so my recommendation in this, for me, is a 2019 Spanish film by Galder Gastelu Urrutia called The Platform, which was a science fiction horror film about this guy named I believe it's Goring, played by Ivan Masague, who enters this type of like building or type thing called the Hole, which is basically a bunch of levels.
I thought it was a prison. Isn't it a prison?
Well, it does serve as a prison as well. It serves as a prison as well for people who have committed crimes, but also people who want to try to help better themselves. Because the main character wants to give up smoking. That's why he went inside in the first place. So he wanted to stay there for 6 months and not smoke, and hopefully that'll help him quit smoking. So what happens is that people they have like this entire gourmet chef type thing where they set up an entire like spread of food for the most like delicious food that you could like 5-star Michelin star restaurant style, and then it goes down for each level for a certain amount of time, and then it would just keep on going down and down and down, and people would just like eat whatever they can, but like it would just like deplete and go lesser and lesser and lesser the further it goes down. So if you're in like level 75 or levels like 80, it's gonna be like slim pickings. So and people would have to like change their level every month. So sometimes they would go from one month to another level. They could be on level 6. They can be on level 75. They can be all like level 150 for all they know. And if you're in 150, you're not going to be eating that month because there's going to be no more food. People would have eaten it all. And it's basically this guy's trying to like do through this, like trying to deal with his animalistic urges because people do really crazy things when they're hungry. And it's basically
not only that, it would not just be you on your floor by yourself. It'd be you and somebody else.
You'll have a cellmate.
Yeah, you'll have a cellmate, and so some people would kill their cellmate during that month so that they could get all the food.
Yeah, some people
and not have to share.
Or they would just eat them. They would kill them.
Or they would just eat
if you're
them.
If you're on a lower level, you have to resort to cannibalism.
Yeah, that's what happened. To him that one time, he the main character, I believe his name Goring was when he found out that he was like in like the like triple 100s, he was then like tied up by his cellmate, and his cellmate would just like peel off pieces of like his flesh and just eat that. throughout the entirety of the month, until when like a person who is this like I believe this Asian lady who came in who was looking for her daughter would just like ride the platform down looking for her.
Trying to look for her,
Yeah.
which was even like weird to me because it was like, how would they even allow a child in there?
Well, they said that the child didn't exist because she didn't come in with one.
But she did.
She did, but that's what
So
they
how
said.
did they even allow a child? Like, I don't, like, that's the thing that I didn't get about it, is I tried to get the metaphor behind it, and I thought I knew what it was. I guess they're trying to, like, show how classes work, like upper class, middle class, and lower class, and how the upper class doesn't really want to, like, leave anything for anyone that's in the lower class.
Right.
I thought that's what it was, but then whenever they threw that whole child in there, the child is alive at the end, you know, because at the end he finds her at the very, very bottom level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't understand, like, who runs this thing?
I was gonna ask, who decides what level you go to?
I guess the the people who run the place.
The people who run the whole, I guess, but I don't know who they are. Like, I don't know who these people are.
Well, one of his cellmates was an administrator who wanted to come in. I don't remember why. Oh yeah, because she had cancer, so I guess she decided to try it because of that. And she brought her 2 dogs. No, she brought one dog. She had one dog. She brought one of her dogs, and she told Goring that they were only 200 levels. That there were 200 levels, and then when the month changed, they were in level 215 or something like that. They were over 200, and then he saw her hanging herself. And then he then hallucinated.
So they didn't even know.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So, like, people who were running it or was an admin there, they didn't even know what was going on. So we don't even know to begin with.
It was 333 in total.
It was very confusing. It was very entertaining to watch. Like, don't get me wrong, it was really, really, really entertaining to watch. But I just didn't get some of it.
Yeah.
Like, especially at the end, I didn't get the ending at all.
Yeah,
I'm interested because I'm confused.
It's a really good film. It's on Netflix. You can watch it there, and it's a pretty interesting film. It's a really fun film. It's in Spanish, but they do have English dubbing if you're into that.
I recommend watching it in Spanish if you can understand it in Spanish. Like, just because you get the whole feel for it and the whole, like, emotion behind it.
Right.
Just watch it with subtitles.
You can watch it with subtitles too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you can check it out. It's very interesting. It's very unique. It's very cool. Like, it's a very unique type of film that hasn't been done before, which was what I like about it as well. And it's very fun. I mean, not fun, but it's very entertaining. And it does have a lot of
That's not fun.
And it makes you think. If you want films that make you think, watch the platform.
If you want films that give you anxiety, because this certainly gives me anxiety. Yeah, and confuse you.
If you want to watch a confusing movie, watch I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Now that's not a confusing movie by Charlie Kaufman.
Oh my god, yes. That one was crazy too.
That was like, wow. You know, like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, it's big brain time. You gotta think. You gotta write notes. All right, so that was it for today. Do you have any other things to say?
Thank you so much, Avery, for joining us. Oh my god, is that your cat?
Yeah, this is Mowgli. He's been like running up this whole time.
Oh my god, hi, kitty. No, but thank you so much for joining us, Avery.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You can follow Avery on Instagram at Avery, Avery _Waddles, that Waddles. And you can follow Wacky Talkies on Instagram and Facebook at WACKYTALKIES. Do follow us for some updated stuff, that we have coming out. The merch is going to finally be finished because Nate and I, went over some last minute additions that we hope that you guys will like, and also that giveaway as well. Stay tuned for that. So yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. And I hope you liked it.
Is there anything you would like to plug, Avery?
No.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
All of my social medias are what she said my Instagram was. Like, they're all the same. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's been Wacky Talkies. I've been Nathaniel Avila, Ruby Rodriguez.
I have been Ruby.
Yep.
She has been Avery.
And will continue to be Avery until after this is done. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of Wacky Talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.